All right, buckle up, everybody, because today's deep dive is going to take us to some pretty wild places.
Mhm.
We're talking Exhalation, which is a science fiction story by Ted Chiang, and the law of one, this like, whoa, metaphysical teaching thing. And we're going to see, well, if they connect at all.
Sounds like a fun challenge, right? We've got mechanical beings breathing and then consciousness and like spiritual stuff. I'm curious, how do we even begin to find connections?
Right. That's what's so cool about this. Okay, so first up, Exhalation.
Chiang creates these beings, right? And they're like living machines. Their consciousness comes from, get this, the flow of air. It's wild.
Totally. Like imagine every breath powers your thoughts, and
Hmm.
every exhale, poof, a bit of memory goes. Makes you think, what even I us consciousness?
And then, hold on, there's this part where their memories are stored, get this, in gold leaves, etched by the air they breathe out. It's like so visual. I love it. What do you think that means? It's so smart, right? It's like Ching's making memories, this idea we all have, into something real. We know our brains store stuff like in neurons and connections, but in exhalation, it's taken literally. Every experience leaves a mark.
Whoa. So it's saying each moment matters. Like all our interactions, thoughts, it all becomes who we are.
Totally. And then it makes you wonder, what happens to those memories when we, well, exhale for the last time? Where do they go?
Which brings us to the creepy part, right? These beings, they find out the universe isn't like closed off. Their air, which is literally their consciousness, is leaking into
Hmm.
this giant empty space.
This is where it gets kind of real worldy because just like their air runs out, leading to this heat death, our universe, well, it's subject to entropy too. Things run down.
So our reality could be like limited to, that's heavy.
Yeah, but it also makes you realize the time we've got, the things we get to do, it's precious, you know?
Okay, so we've got this limited existence thing, and now we're jumping into the law of one, which is a totally different take on reality, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, the law of one is, get this, a channeled message from an alien being, raw. Some people might think, whoa, too out there, but
I get it. But hey, this deep dive, it's about exploring, right?
hmm.
Even the weird stuff. Let's just see where this goes.
Right. And actually, even with the weird origin, the law of one kind of lines up with some science and philosophy. It's surprising.
Okay, so what's the gist? Like main points of the law of one.
The big one is unity. Everything in the universe, it all comes from one creator.
Yeah.
And we're all like connected because of that.
So we're all part of this giant cosmic thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool thought.
Right. It's saying we're not just random, but part of something way bigger than we can even imagine.
So we're all connected, like
Yeah.
part of one big thing.
Yeah.
But how does that work?
Yeah.
We all feel pretty separate, right?
That's where densities come in. The law of one talks about this, like evolution of consciousness happening through these different densities, which are kind of like levels of, I guess, awareness or maybe how much you understand.
So like level 1, level 2, and so
Uh-huh.
on. Where do we fit in, us humans?
We're considered third density. It's a stage where we're figuring out like self-awareness, building societies, and what's right and wrong.
So still a lot to learn, huh?
Yeah.
What about those beings in exhalation? Think they could be a different density, like maybe their air thing. It's a metaphor for some other kind of energy that powers consciousness.
Ooh, that's interesting. Could be Chang was showing us a whole different way of existing, a different level of consciousness, for sure.
And maybe that air running out, that whole struggle, it's like the problems you get with that density, like they hit a wall.
Yeah, the law of one says each density has its own like rules, its own way of experiencing things. Part of evolving is like breaking past those limits.
So for them, maybe it's finding new energy for their consciousness. And for us, it's, I don't know, getting past how we see ourselves and others,
Hmm.
moving towards being more like unified.
Right on. It's about seeing we're all connected and doing stuff that helps everyone, not just ourselves.
We talked about free will earlier, right?
Okay.
Big part of the law of one. So where does choice fit in with densities and evolving?
Oh, free will is huge. It's how, according to the law of one, souls choose their path. Like, do they want to serve themselves or serve others?
So it's not like we're just along for the ride. We get to decide how we evolve.
Totally. Every choice we make alone or together, it affects like the whole planet's energy and how we grow spiritually.
This is where I see exhalation
Yeah.
and the law of one really lining up, both about choices. In the story, maybe those beings' actions like made their air run out faster.
Ooh, I like that. Maybe their choices as a society, focusing on themselves more than the group, led to that problem. Kind of like a warning for us, right? What
Yeah.
choices are we making that could mess things up for our planet and how we evolve?
Whoa, that's deep. If we're all connected and our choices matter that much, the stakes are pretty high, aren't they?
For sure. That's why the law of one says it's important to be aware, to make choices on purpose, ones that line up with, like, wanting to grow and help everyone.
Okay, let's talk more about consciousness itself. In exhalation, it's like super tied to that air, but the law of one seems to say it's different, how consciousness and our bodies work.
The law of one is saying consciousness, it's like the basic stuff of reality, not just in our bodies. Our body's more like a vehicle for the soul,
Yeah.
a way to experience this density.
So even though those exhalation beings are mechanical, they still have consciousness, just works differently.
Exactly. And even though it's different from ours, the same stuff applies, like experiencing things, memories, making choices.
But if consciousness isn't stuck in the body, what happens when we die?
Mm.
Does the law of one talk about that?
Yep. It says there's this transition thing where the soul ditches the body and goes to a different density. All those memories, the lessons you learn, the soul keeps those.
So it's not the end, it just keeps going. Is there like an end point to this?
Mm.
A final density?
The law of one says there are 8 densities, and the 8th one is like going back to being one with the creator. It's a big cycle. You start as one, become individual, and then go back to one, but knowing way more about yourself and the creator.
Wow, that's kind of beautiful. So
Yeah.
each density has its own stuff to learn and problems to solve. Speaking of problems, the law of one talks about psychic attack, right?
Yeah.
These Orion beings messing with evolution. Could that be an exhalation too? Like something messing with those beings, making them die out?
Interesting question. The story doesn't say anything directly about outside forces, but it does show how limited their knowledge is. Maybe there were signs about the air running out, but they missed them or didn't get it. Could that itself be a psychic attack, you think? Like tricking them so they don't see the truth?
Ooh, that's a good point. The law of one says these Orion guys, they're sneaky. They mess with your mind, make you choose badly. It's not always big fights, more like whispers in the dark, making you do things that stop you from evolving.
Exactly. And the best way to fight that, the law of one says, is to learn how to tell what's real and get closer to the creator. The more you know yourself and listen to your intuition, the harder it is for them to mess with you.
So it's about like actively creating your own reality, not just letting stuff happen to you.
Yes. That's powerful stuff to think about.
This whole thing has been so cool, from breathing machines to like what is reality to power of choices. Crazy how exhalation and the law of one, so different, but they kind of explain each other.
What I find really cool is how we can use this stuff in our own lives. If we can choose our path, affect how we evolve, what are we going to do? How do we make our reality better for ourselves and everyone?
Big questions, right? We need more time for that. Let's take a minute, and when we're back, we'll figure out how exhalation and the law of one can help us like live better and more consciously. Don't go anywhere. All right, so we've been on this wild ride, huh? Breathing machines,
Okay.
cosmic consciousness. It's crazy how exhalation and the law of one can kind of like illuminate each other.
Yeah, it shows how powerful stories are, and metaphors to help us understand these huge ideas about reality, consciousness, like our place in everything.
For sure. But here's what I keep thinking about. If the law of one says we actually have a say in how we evolve, what can we do about it? In our normal lives, I mean.
Yeah.
Can't just be meditating on a mountaintop, right?
You got it. It's not just about like isolating yourself and being spiritual. The law of one says helping others, that's what really makes you grow. It's about remembering we're all connected and doing things that benefit everyone, not just me, myself, and I.
So how we act in relationships, our communities, even at work.
Exactly. Every choice we make, it should show like that we get it, that we're all one, and be compassionate is asking yourself, how can I help in every situation?
Okay, but what does that even look like? Like real life examples.
Think about really listening to someone, not just waiting to talk, but actually hearing them. No judgment, no trying to fix things. That creates this like space of love where they feel understood. That's huge, it's a real service.
Yeah, that's true. We're so busy with our own stuff, it's easy to forget. Just trying to really see the other person, listen to them, that can change things for both of you.
For sure. And it doesn't have to be some big thing either. Just being nice to a stranger, helping someone with groceries, donating to something you care about.
So just being more generous, looking for chances to help people out, even in small ways.
You got it. And what's cool, the law of one says those little things, they make a ripple. Not just for you, but everyone around you. Makes the whole world a bit nicer, more loving.
Brings us back to those exhalation folks and their air running out. What if instead of worrying about themselves, they'd shared, helped each other? Think that would have changed things.
That's a great point. The law of one says when we're all separate in our minds, that's how we get limits, not enough to go around. But when we're together, working together, that's where we find abundance and new ways of doing things.
So the key is changing how we see things. Not just me, but realizing we're all connected in this huge cosmic web.
Nicely put. And when you get that, it's powerful because you see that your choices, even the little ones, they matter. They change things.
It's like we're all building the reality we want to live in. By choosing to help others, choosing compassion, we're making a more loving world.
You got it. And by doing that, we grow too, spiritually, understanding ourselves and the universe better.
This has been such an amazing deep dive. We started with breathing machines, went into the mysteries of consciousness, and now we're talking about how powerful our choices are.
Right. It's amazing what happens when you connect ideas that seem like totally different.
Totally. So as you go about your day, remember those gold leaves with memories on them from Exhalation and what the Law of One teaches us. Every choice you make, it leaves a mark, not just on you, but on everyone, on everything. What kind of world are you going to help make? Think about that and let it guide you. Thanks for being with us on this deep dive.